This is very, very important. This is why therapists, doctors, care workers, community workers, they're all saying the same thing. Can we please catch this early? It doesn't need to go in this direction. It doesn't need to go to the point of inner giving up. Because when we catch it early, we tip it back into that productive grieving. The reason why this is so important in our older years is if we aren't acknowledging our losses, mourning them as such, if we aren't being companioned through these losses adequately, that means people being there with us, helping us through this, and we are actually at a developmental point where we're evaluating our life. We're thinking about what's the meaning of my life, right? If we're experiencing this disenfranchised grief, which is kind of seeping into our identity a little bit, we're doing something like, instead of saying, I'm experiencing an awful loss or several awful losses and it's really painful and I'm feeling it and I need help, or I'm tired with it, or I'm really feeling it, okay? Expressing it, let's say. If we're not doing that, then when we are sitting back to kind of meaning make and we're looking at our life, we almost start to feel like my life is a loss. Okay, so if we go back to this good grieving that I'm talking about, this mourning as such, we are, in this example, we are actively suffering. We're experiencing all of those symptoms that we know go with grief, and we're actively suffering them in companionship with others. And as we're doing this, we're trying to make sense of the whole thing and drawing on that well that we spoke about. And ultimately, we will make sense of it. We will arrive at a place where we are deepened by it, where we are in a greater acceptance of our own mortality. And this is a sacred experience. It's an initiation, a sacred experience, and a transition from that ego to bigger self. Okay, that's very important. And the ego kind of goes, okay, I get it. There's something bigger. And we're settled in that. We're consoled in that, right? This is kind of my portion of the human suffering that we're all going to experience. I can bear it, I can manage it, and I get what it's trying to tell me. That's how we feel in the first example, okay? And that's good. That will console you. In the second example, it's different. And what happens is we're leaning more into almost a sense of giving up. What's the point? We're embodying the loss. It's soaking into our bones. We're living out the loss. We're not being deepened by it. We're almost drowning a bit in it, okay? I think that it's very normal for us to go back and forth a little bit between the two. This happens. It's a process. We don't just arrive at the good grief always, but we do want to be very, very careful when we're tipping into that second version of loss, okay? Because we are at a point in these later years where we're trying to make sense of our life. We're trying to synthesize it. And if we are tipping into that type of grief, embodied loss kind of, we are in no fit state to make sense of our life. And we will be drawing all kinds of the wrong conclusions about our life, the meaning of it, and who we are. Okay? This is very, very important. This is why therapists, doctors, care workers, community workers, they're all saying the same thing. Can we please catch this early? It doesn't need to go in this direction. It doesn't need to go to the point of inner giving up. Because when we catch it early, we tip it back into that productive grieving, that sacred grieving, okay? We can do that better. We can be in charge of that better is what I'm saying.